Hello and welcome to our conference podcast series, Power of Potential, sharing experiences from Universal Design for Learning journeys. So it's my pleasure then to welcome Annjanette, Bennar and Brandon Daly for another instalment of our UDL podcast. Welcome both of you. Annjanette and Brandon, can I get you to introduce yourselves and just tell us kind of where you are today and where we're having this podcast, international podcast?
My name is Annjanette Bennar. I work at Goodwin University. I am the Director of Math, Communications, and Computers, and I'm also a Senior Teaching Fellow, UDL Fellow. I run multiple cohorts of faculty development in UDL, so I'm very involved with that.
Fantastic.
Yes. And my name is Brandon Daly. I'm an assistant professor of communications at Goodwin University. And I am, I guess, going along with Annjanette in helping to spread UDL to the campus. And then just to give a little bit more background, I guess, Goodwin University is located in Connecticut in the United States. And so we are very, very glad and happy and honored to be part of this.
Wonderful, thank you both. So our listeners may or may not know we've kind of got 4 questions that we're going to be chatting through today. So if it's okay with you both, I'll make a start. So the first question really is, in your words, what is universal design for learning? How would you define that idea, concept or theory?
I think it's an opportunity for students to take control of their learning. It allows them to make decisions on how they best learn, how they best want to express their knowledge. It gives them options. It helps them to become self-directed learners.
Brilliant. And
Right.
Brandon, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I think the idea is just to make learning and education accessible to more people. It's not to limit or funnel people out, but instead to include and really to welcome people in. So there's no real chances for pushback. I think it's about kind of an open-armed embrace to different learners and challenging students, but at the same time accepting students for who they are. And I think that that's really the one of the most important concepts of UDL and really just education in general.
Brilliant. So to kind of recap then, it's about opening things up and being accepting and thinking about different ways that people may learn. But I like what you were saying, Annjanette, as well, about kind of giving people control. So that's really interesting. Thank you. And are you happy then to talk about and give some examples of what UDL looks like in the settings that you teach in and that you work in?
Yes. So Goodwin University actually adopted UDL as a pedagogy about 8 years ago, and we've just really embraced it. We've had over 100 faculty members trained. We talk about it all the time. We're even branching out to have staff trained in Universal Design for Learning. Everybody at the school knows what UDL is, because it is something that is talked about and very important to us in our culture. And so, like I said, I actually go and teach faculty, run cohorts, and teach them how to implement UDL in their classroom. While I do the same thing, I implement UDL in my own classes. Maybe Brandon will talk about our course design. So we are very intentional in what we do in all of our classes.
Yeah, and I think just to piggyback on what Annjanette's saying, something that's I would say unique and interesting about Goodwin University especially is that we're really, really diverse in a lot of different facets. Our age of students is not right out of high school. We have students that come from all branches of life, all ages of life. I always say this as a perfect example, but last semester I had a student who was 19 right out of high school, and I had a student who was 73 years old, and they were in the same class. And so in
Wow.
kind of embracing this the university design, I guess, is that it is open, open armed. I know I said that before, but it's this idea of really accepting students in and challenging students through their own perceptions, whether that be, talking about their own life experiences or whatever else they can bring. And something else that I think is unique to Goodwin, actually, I don't say it's unique to Goodwin, I think it's unique to education now, is that we have quite a few students that are, just taking online courses. We run synchronous and asynchronous courses. We run on-ground courses. We run hybrid courses. And so what that does is that challenges us as educators to really think, how best can we get students the information? How best can we teach the students, but also get the students to take control, to challenge them? And one of the ways that we do this, and one of the many ways that we do this, is to embrace, varied modes of information and submission. So students can write papers, or they can submit an audio clip, or they can submit a video clip. They can turn in a PowerPoint. They can, create an infographic. So basically, we are putting, like Annjanette said earlier, we're putting a lot of the onus on the students to bridge that gap and to find what is comfortable for them, but at the same time still, checking the box in that education. And our notes, if it's an asynchronous course, we give, printed notes, we give online notes, we give video notes. Our announcements are video and written. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're never ever prejudicial against or to any one type of learner, but again, that concept of universal, that everyone is included and everyone is seen and everyone is heard.
Brilliant, thank you. That's really interesting. And you probably won't have stats available right now, so sorry if I'm asking a tricky question. I'm not meaning to. I'm really interested, if you've got such varied modes of showing your learning. For example, you mentioned infographics or presentation or audio. What do you find is the most popular with your students, do you think? Where do they go with it? Do you know?
I was going to say right now, I think students are still with the written because they don't really understand that they have options and that it's okay for them to make a video. Even though I say it's okay, it still is not something that they've ever done in education before. So it's kind of weird to them. But I'm slowly seeing more kind of branching out into doing the videos and the PowerPoints and the graphics and trying to do, something different.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm sorry. I'd agree. But I think that one of the things, and this is where UDL is so important for the educator to understand, is that it's about, showing students what is acceptable and how to do things. And literally 15 minutes ago, before we started this recording, I was making an introduction discussion board video instead of just the normal, hi, my name is Brandon Daly, and I'm so happy for the semester. And so it's about modeling. And I think that that's a really, really important thing, is that we, like Annjanette says, students don't know just what it is when we say, hey, make a video instead of a written assignment. What does that look like? What does that mean? So I think that if we can, as educators, start to show students what it is that we're looking for and what it is that we're accepting and allowing, I think it'll be opening the door a lot more for students to engage better.
Brilliant. So almost shifting the culture towards it being the norm to show our learning in different ways rather than the traditional written form. Fab, thank you. So my third question that I've got on my list then is, why do you feel that universal design for learning is so important?
I feel it's important for accessibility. I know Brandon talked about that, especially with our very diverse campus. We need to give people lots of options, lots of ways to learn, to become goal directed, to become oriented students, and learn how to self-regulate so they can take the skills that they have and then use it in the workforce.
Yeah, and then I kind of go back to kind of an anecdotal. Growing up, my parents always instilled in me this idea that you should never say can't, right? You can't say can't, which I know is kind of reverse thinking. But I grew up with this idea. But I think that concept of can't is a real big roadblock for a lot of students. I can't go to school. I can't learn like the rest. I can't keep up with, whatever it might be. There's, a long, long list of different reasons and excuses. And what for me UDL does is it gets rid of that can't, and it says, okay, well, you can. It just is maybe not going to take this path. It's going to circumvent this path, Kirsty, you said giving options, and that's really what it is. It's allowing for options. I mean, UDL is more than just options, but it's also saying, okay, well, you no longer can resort to I can't do this, because you can. If you're not comfortable with writing, well, then convey your information in a different way. And so I think that the importance really is in that, like Annjanette, accessibility, but accessibility without restrictions.
Yeah, because I guess if you remove those restrictions and you have that accessibility, then it could be quite an exciting time to sort of flourish and find out what you're good at and how far you can get. Fantastic. So my final question then for you both is, what are your hopes for the future inclusion of universal design for learning?
Well, I'm going to go back to kind of what I said. I would love to see universal design for learning being used in the K-12 system all the way through higher ed. I would love if students could learn how to become the self-directed learners and make choices when they're in the younger grades. So by the time they get to us in higher education, they have, are almost experts in what they need to do. So then they can truly learn the material and learn it really deeply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, I kind of go along with that with the students. My focus, I think, tends to be more on the faculty and the educators themselves, and I want educators to be more understanding of what UDL is, in the sense that it's meeting the student, but it's not meeting the student 90% of the way, and then the student just meets 10%. And I think what is interesting, the difference between Annjanette and myself, is that Annjanette is a pro at UDL. She really is. But my introduction to UDL is actually really recent. I've only been kind of dabbling with it for about probably 18 months or so, about a year and a half. And when I first was introduced to UDL in a cohort that Annjanette was running, I hated the concept because I didn't understand the concept. I thought it was giving students these excuses and giving students basically reaching out and meeting them 95% of the way, like I was saying. And it took me time to realize that that's not what it is. It's about accessibility. It's about helping students, but at the same time, it's about challenging. And so for me, as an instructor, I constantly want to challenge my students. I don't want to make it easy for them. I want to make it easier for them to accomplish their goals and to accomplish those challenging tasks. And so what I would love for UDL is that it's better understood by educators so that we can, as Annjanette said, branch out and expand on this concept throughout, the education system.
So that's brilliant. So one of you talking about hoping that students understood it and learners understood it, so they had the autonomy to kind of own it and say what their needs are. But then on the flip side of that, having colleagues and educators also fully grasp what it's about, so that you're coming at it from sort of both groups of people, really. That's brilliant. Oh, well, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. The dream team. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to come and talk to us and give us a snapshot of what's going on, all things UDL related. And is there anything else you wanted to add before we draw the podcast to a close?
Nope, just thank you for having us.
Yeah, I would echo that absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome opportunity, and yeah, if I guess if anyone has questions, you can always feel free to reach out to us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you.
You too.